Good morning and welcome to a marvelous Math Monday, everyone. Thank you for showing up for your learning. Let's go ahead and get practicing some mental math skills. I'm well distanced, so I'll do it this way. This set of exercises here under mental math are all opportunities to practice a variety of skills that you can do without a calculator. When you're doing the math without a calculator, I believe you're going to have more fun because it becomes a puzzle that you can see unfold in your head. And that's kind of pleasurable when you finally get to the right answer. Also, it's going to improve your speed on all your practice, making every math class you take less effortful. And I think that's going to be more enjoyable. If it hurt to swing a baseball bat, you wouldn't like playing baseball. But because you're strong and you can swing the bat well, and you hit and you get that satisfying crack, that makes the game enjoyable to play. So we want math to feel that way. So when we look at adding and subtracting integers, what are we doing? Here, we are practicing with our plus and minus, and particularly with negative and positives. So those are the types of things that we want to have correct. So if I have something like negative 3 plus 4, I want to be able to get to the correct answer very quickly. One thing that I can do is remember that negative 3 plus 4 is the same thing as 4 minus 3. This is a useful strategy that you can use quickly in your head to get the correct answer 1. 1. And then here, negative 5 minus 2. Here I encourage you to visualize in your mind a cold day. Here's 0 degrees. Here we are down at minus 5. And then it gets 2 degrees colder. It's getting 2 degrees further away from 0. So this would be the same thing as 2 plus 5, but it happens to be negative. Negative 7. So that's how you can do these ones relatively quickly. Negative 1 plus 5, you want to have some strategies to learn to do these faster, to know that this is 4 very quickly. So you're going to go through this week and do each topic once and just try and get your best score. Here, negative 9 minus 8. I'm back to thinking about maybe a bank balance. If I have negative $9 and then I take out another 8, I'm going further into debt. Further into debt, I need to add them together and remember it's negative. So this is minus 17. Okay? And then I've asked you to get at least 5 correct in a row. And some things that you're going to notice is you want your best time to get lower and lower the more you practice this. And can you get higher and higher numbers of them correct in a row? Okay? So that's that topic. Pretty straightforward. Let's go back and try another topic here, multiplication tables. With our multiplication tables, we're really just practicing something that you've probably been practicing since, what, grade 3, grade 4, doing your multiplication tables? Here we have 70. No, it's not 72. I get the first one wrong. Okay, I often get this one wrong. It's 56. Let's start again. Here, 2 times 2 is 4. 7 times 3 is 21. 2 times 3 is 6. Really, this one is, can you memorize it? That's good. If you don't have it memorized, one strategy to do better at this would be to print out a copy of the times tables and then go ahead and find the answer each time. If you did this practice a couple times a week and you were hunting through your times tables, I believe you'd improve. You'll also improve doing this by trying to talk, and doing it at the same time is pretty challenging. But in any case, another thing that you can do to improve at this is skip counting. Let's say 8 times 8. Darn it, I know 8 times 5, but I don't know 8 times 8. So I start at 8 times 5 and I say, well, that would be 3 more 8s. Because 8 times 5, I know that's 40. Because I'm good at counting by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. That's 8 5s. But now I need 3 more 8s. So I'm going to add 8 3 times. How do I know it's 3 more 8s? Because you could think of this with your distributive property. 8 times 8, if I don't know it, is the same thing as 8 times 5 plus 3. Okay? And so then using the distributive property here, I would have this is equal to 8 times 5 plus 8 times 3. That's 40 plus, oh, I know 8 times 3, that's 24. And I can do 40 plus 24, that's 64. Okay, cool. All right, there's the right answer. So there's a few different strategies. The more strategies you try, I think the more improvement you're going to get. because you want to have multiple ways to climb this mountain and get to the top of the hill. Let's do the next type of thing here, next type of problem. Okay, multiplying and dividing integers. If your multiplication tables are good, then division will also become easy because division is just multiplication backwards. But this one also has to do with your plus and minus. Plus and minus work different, multiplying and dividing, than it does for adding and subtracting. Adding and subtracting, I want to think of adding or subtracting to a bank balance or adding or subtracting degrees to a thermometer. I want to have a good metaphor that I can use to remember those ones. With multiplying and dividing, my favorite metaphor is the light switch. If I multiply by a negative number, it's like hitting the light switch once. If I multiply by two negative numbers, it's like hitting the light switch twice. Whatever position it was in, it's going to be back in that position. So this is multiplying and dividing. So let's take a look. When I have negative 7 times 9, well, it would be the same thing as 7 times 9, but it would be negative. So there it is there. Oh, 63, of course. I get the first one wrong. Negative 81 divided by 9, well, it's the same thing as 81 divided by 9, which is 9, but there's one negative, so the answer is negative. Here there is one negative, so the answer is also negative. Here there's one negative, so the answer is negative. Here there's one negative, so the answer is negative. Here there's two negatives, so the answer is positive. It's like hitting the light switch twice. Here there's two negatives, so the answer is positive. Here there's one negative, so the answer is negative. And so on. So you're going to get a lot of practice doing this relatively instantaneously. Okay, is what you want to do. Next are practice with your perfect squares. Okay, so squaring numbers is something that you're going to start doing a lot of when we start looking at Pythagorean theorem in grade 9. We do a lot of squares in grade 9. If you're finding the area of a square, you're going to be squaring a number. If you go to grade 10 math at either level, you're going to be squaring lots of numbers when you look at quadratics, where x can be squared. So getting good at doing squares quickly in your head is very useful. 11 times 2, it is on your times tables. It's 121. 3 times 2 is 9. 6 squared is 36. 10 squared is 100. 3 squared is 9. Here, 13 squared. Let's say you don't have your times tables up to 13. How can you do this quickly in your head? Well, you can imagine or you can draw on a piece of note paper a square. This is a square, if you really have a good imagination. And then you can think of this square as 10 plus 3 times 10 plus 3. That's 13 times 13, okay? And then you can think of the area of all the different rectangles. 10 times 10, this would be 100, so that's pretty easy. 3 times 10, well, that's easy too. That's 30. This rectangle would have an area of 30. This one would be the same. It's also 30. And then I have one more little rectangle. That's this one, 9. Okay? So now I just add all these up. 10 plus 2 30s. 2 30s is 60. So I'm going to use multiplication to add those together instead of just addition. I think that's a little faster. So that's 100 plus 60 plus 9. This is 169. Oh, it's been staring at me in the face this whole time, 169. 7 squared is 49. Okay, keep going. 13 squared, we just did it. It's 169. There it is. 12 squared. Well, maybe I use a similar strategy. Okay, maybe I draw out the areas here. Why do I say draw out the areas? Because I can actually visualize these areas in my head. You want to start practicing doing that as well. So here I would have my squares. This one is 100. This one is 20. This one is 20. And then this one over there in the corner underneath my face is 4. So 2 20s is 40. 100 plus 40 plus 4 is 144. And then we can do the same thing here. So I imagine it. I have 100 plus 10 plus 10 plus 1. So that's 121. The more you're working your brain to do these things and not just default to a calculator, the more fun this stuff's going to get, I promise. The next level is perfect squares up to 1 to 30. So these ones just have bigger numbers to square. 7 squared, 49. 7 squared, 49. 29 squared. This one, I wanted to show you one like this. Okay, you can still use areas, but I think the easiest way to do this one is with 30 minus 1 is same thing as 29. 30 minus 1. So for those of you that can do that in your head, it's going to look like this. Okay, so this area here would be 30 times 30 is 900. Okay. -1 times 30 would be -30. -1 times 30 would be -30. And -1 times -1, that's a negative times a negative, so we get a +1. So this would be 900 minus 60 plus 1. 900 minus 60 is 840. 840 plus 1, 841. And there it is right there. Boop. Oops, where is it there? Boop. Okay. And it keeps going. 8 squared, 64. 15 squared, 225. Again, I could draw areas if I don't have it memorized. 9 squared, 81. 27 squared. Okay, I could use subtract 3 here. So I change this to subtract 3. Instead of being minus 30, this is minus 90 in each corner. And instead of being minus 3 times minus 3 is 1, it's actually minus 3 times minus 3 is positive 9. So 90 minus 180 plus 9. That's 729. There it is. Okay. So this is a quicker way that you can visualize these things in your head and calculate these things in your head. And it becomes a fun game once you develop some ability with this. Okay, let's take a look at the next topics because there's a couple more. Order of operations tests your bedmas. And they're generally fairly straightforward things to do, but then you have to make sure you do them in the right order. First, I have to do the brackets. So 9 divided by -3 is -3. Because 9 divided by 3 is 3, but there's one negative, so it's -3. -3 squared is +9. And then I have negative that. So this is -9 is the correct answer. Here you have 2 plus -70 divided by -7. Because there's two negatives, the answer is positive. Happens to be +10. 10 times 8 will happen before the addition. So I have 80 plus 2 is 82. Okay, here you have -7 squared is 49. This is -4 squared, but negative that, so -16. This one is -64. Oh, no, I got it wrong. This is +64 because I square the -8, and that makes +64. And so I want to get in the habit of making some mistakes and saying, where did I make this mistake? And then figuring it out so I can get a better score next time. And doing a little bit of practice with all these skills. And then go back. So then next we'll take a look at greatest common factor. Greatest common factor, I can do factor trees if I can't just spot it. Here, the greatest common factor of 10 and 15. I think of 10 as 2 times 5. I think of 15 as 3 times 5. And I see 5 is the only factor that's common. 2 and 3 are not common to both, so my greatest factor is 5. 45 and 40, well, 45 is like 5 times 9, or 5 times 3 times 3. And 40 is, well, that's 4 times 10. Well, that would be 4 times 2 times 10, or 8 times 5. 2 times 2 times 2 times 5. The only thing they share is a factor 5. So that would be it. 28 and 26. So here I think of 28 as 2 times 7, and that's equal to 28. And 26 is 2 times 13 equals 26. So the only factor they share is 2. So then that's 2. Okay. 9 and 26. They don't share factors. How do I know this? Well, this is what you do. This is my method. You remember your primes, and you kind of want to memorize these. 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, and that's a pretty good list to work from in the beginning. 17, 19, etc., etc. Anyway, I check. Is 9 divisible by 2? No. Is it divisible by 3? Yes. It's 3 times 3. Done. 26, is it divisible by 2? Yes. It's 13 times 2. 13 is also prime, so I'm also done. Hi, Jazzy. So the greatest common factor, when they don't share a factor like a prime number, well, it's just 1. 25 and 34. 25 is 5 times 5. I checked. It's not divisible by 2. It's not divisible by 3. It is divisible by 5. I just go down the list of primes and check. And you want to get in the habit of checking very quickly the prime factorization of numbers to find what are the factors they share. 34 does not have a factor 5 in it, so its greatest common factor 1. 26 and 36. 26 is 2 times 13. 36 does not have a factor 13, but it does have a factor 2. So this is 2. It's greatest common factor. And then you're going to do these. You want to see your best time increase. You want to see your score go up to see how many consecutively you can get right. Least common multiple, I don't think it's as useful as greatest common factor, because greatest common factor, if you're good at that, you'll be good at least common multiple. Least common multiple is particularly useful for finding the lowest common denominator for fractions. So let's go ahead and do that. What's the lowest common multiple of 3 and 18? Well, it's 18. I see that I can multiply 5 times 6 and get 60. I can do 12 times 5 and get, so I can do 5 times 12 and get 60, and there's no smaller common multiple. Like 30 would be nice, but 12 doesn't go into 30 evenly, so 60 is the best one. 6 and 2, well, it's 6. 2 times 3 is 6, so that would be the least common multiple. 5 and 6, 30. They don't share any factors. So the trick here is I look for factors they share. Those are things I don't need to multiply in. Otherwise, the answer is just those two numbers multiplied by one another. So here the answer is 30. 15 and 4 don't share any factors. 4 is only divisible by 2. 15 is not divisible by 2. So the lowest common multiple here is 60. 15 times 4. 3 and 10, again, 3 and 10 don't share factors. So the lowest common multiple is 30. 16 and 5 don't share factors. Lowest common multiple is 40, because 16 times 5 is 40. How do I do that so fast? Wait, no, it's not 40. It's 80, because I take a factor 2 from the 16, make it 8 times 2, do 2 times 5 to give me 10. 8 times 10 is 80. So I'm freely moving these factors around in my head to make that go very quickly. Here it says 20. So anyway, you want to practice these and get your times down. So those are mental math, different strategies for doing those quickly in your head. And if you're struggling on any one of these, absolutely come ask me about it. Talk to me about it. If you have a tutor, talk to your tutor. See, how do you do these? How do you improve your times? I think by practicing these about once a week when we have a Delta Math day, you're going to see your scores coming down. For today, try and get 5 correct in a row. If you need a whiteboard, no problem. If you need a calculator, try and do this without a calculator. If you need a times tables printed out, that's no problem. Next week, you will just want to see your time start going down, the number that you get in a row correct going up. For today, get 5 in a row each. And any questions, absolutely hit me up by email or come and chat with me. Hope your math practice is fruitful.